Morning, it is Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He is Griffin Bass. Lots to do on a Tuesday edition of the program. Thanks to those of you who joined us last night at Glory Days Grill. I know I will not remember to thank everybody. Nick and Laura Kelly, thank you. Simon Habdamariam, thank you. Chris Vaxakis, Ivan Lutwin, Tony Iafola. Tony coming through with like 1,000 pairs of socks. Unbelievable. Met a lot of people that were helpful. I want to thank the folks at Target Whitemarsh. It's not actually easy spending $3,500 at a Target. I mean, I say there's more difficult things. It was a process that took like over 2 hours yesterday for us to do it. Thank you to Cal Dodorio and to Suki and the entire team over there. And thank you from the bottom of my heart to every single one of you that has donated. Oh, man, I already forgot people. Mark Miller, Joe McGrain. I think everybody that donated money, I can't thank you enough. I mean, honestly, I cannot possibly thank you enough. I said this yesterday on social media. I always get to this point in the process, and I think to myself, man, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know if we're going to have enough stuff to take. I don't know. And then we get to this point, and I'm like, oh, crap. We have too much stuff. Like, I genuinely don't know how I'm getting. The Cameron Lambert Foundation always graciously gives us a lot of stuffed animals to take down there so that the folks at Helping Up Mission can have gifts to give their kids. And it's amazing. But I've got, 9 bags of stuffed animals, and I have one small car. I'm like, right. I don't know how I'm going to get this stuff there. I have no idea. I mean, we'll figure it out. I promise you it'll be solved. If you can help, if you've got a truck, if you got an empty car, if you got some time either this afternoon or tomorrow that'd be willing to make a drive for me, it's one very simple drive. Please hit me up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter or somewhere. Just let me know. I really don't need like last year we needed a giant trailer. We don't need that. I need a car would be enough to help us get stuff down to the Helping Up Mission. So if you've got a car and you've got 30 minutes, I would be very appreciative of your ability to help us out. I would be grateful that you would be able to do that for us. So hit me up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter or glennclarkradio@gmail.com. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know I still had a few people that were like, hey, could you use a little bit more? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you can't get it to me in time for us to take it down tomorrow, they always have toiletry and underwear needs. Those are two things they always need at Helping Up Mission. So I'm down there the first Sunday of every month. Let me know. We'll communicate. We'll coordinate. We'll get it together. And absolutely is the answer. Absolutely could still use some help, whether it be monetary or donation items or whatever it is. Absolutely could still use that help. Thank you so much. And a huge shout out to Tim Diggs and the staff at Glory Days Grill Towson, Liz and their crew hanging out with us last night. Liz, who works at Glory Days Grill Towson, had never had a Honey Old Bay wings, so we changed that last evening, and I'm glad that is a monumental moment in everyone's life, and the Honey Old Bay wings at Glory Days Grill are delicious. So stop by Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. Of course, try all of the great items on the Comfort Classic menu as well, including the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. Appreciate Glory Days Grill being a part of what we do, and they've been a part for a long time of what it is that we've done to lift up Helping Up Mission, and I can't thank them enough. All right, coming up in a few minutes, Jonas Shaffer covers the Ravens, the Baltimore Sun. Later on this hour, Jordan Moore, wide receiver for Duke, but a former Loyola Don, Sykesville native. He's getting ready for the Military Bowl next week in Annapolis. We'll catch up with him. He had a great season this year. Patrick Stevens joins us as he does every Tuesday. We'll preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday, which is now irrelevant for your pal. That old late Tyler Higbee touchdown. Dagger in the heart. Probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. I think I would have needed no Tyler Higbee touchdown there, and then I think I would have needed Christian Watson to have been aware that Aaron Rodgers wanted to throw him the ball at the end of the game. And I think I needed one more passing touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. I believe if I had gotten no Tyler Higbee touchdown, one more passing touchdown for Aaron Rodgers, your pal would have been moving on, but that's not the case. The season is over for your boy. It was a bad year fantasy-wise. Thankfully, I'm still very good at all the real sports, and I have so many other things going for me in my life, like my incredible good looks and my rapier's wit. I got so much happening for me in my life. I don't have to worry about my struggles in the fantasy football department. But yes, Joe Serpico will join us before the end of the program today as well. As far as yesterday goes, the Orioles bring back Michael Givens. I know that there are things about Michael Givens that make him an unpopular person. And it's a very difficult conversation to have because I can't pretend to know all of the details. I know there was an allegation made a few years back that Michael Givens denied, and I don't know anything more from there. And I'm uncomfortable saying a lot about it because admittedly, with Michael Givens being gone, I stopped following it. I didn't dive too much further into it. I will say what I think is appropriate to say in these moments. If there's any real possibility that Michael Givens abused his ex-wife, it's shameful that he would be employed by the Baltimore Orioles. Shameful. Drew and I were talking hypothetically. Drew brought up last night, and what if the Orioles could have Trevor Bauer for cheap? Said, nah, not a chance. Not for me. I would never sign off on it. Never. And that's, a lot of gray area there too, right? There's a lot of, the courts did not find there to be a crime to even pursue in the Trevor Bauer situation. But I'm not going to look at those pictures and think that it's okay to sign Trevor Bauer. I'm not going to do it. So I'm uncomfortable with the Michael Givens thing. If I attempted to discuss it without looking through that lens, if I attempted to say, hey, from a baseball standpoint, does it make sense? I know that a lot of people hadn't talked about the Orioles bullpen, but Stan and I just had this conversation on Friday. The bullpen started to fall apart at the end of the year. They only had a few arms that they actually trusted. The reality is if they can add another starting pitcher, and Lord knows if they'll add another starting pitcher, they'll probably have somebody from this mix that will be able to go into the bullpen instead and be a helpful piece next year. But I can get from a baseball standpoint the argument of they needed another arm that they could put in their A bullpen. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that answer being Michael Givens. And that has nothing to do with baseball. It has to do with an allegation that was made against him a couple years ago. And I get it. I don't know. And the court system is the court system, and nothing happened there. And so it is tough. It is really icky whenever we have these conversations. I don't know. I don't know is the ultimate answer to it. But Michael Givens will be an Oriole this season. That's the part we do know about. And we still wait to see if there's a move of substance to be made by the Birds. And obviously there's less and less. Nathan Eovaldi is still out there. So, who knows? As far as John Harbaugh's press conference was concerned yesterday, and we will talk about it with Jonas Shaffer here in just a second. I guess it's a twofold thing. One, I told you I didn't expect it, even though I thought that Saturday was a fireable offense, I didn't expect it to happen. So, no, I'm not remotely surprised. And if you're not going to fire your offensive coordinator, I'm not sure what it is that you want the coach to say. I know it might make you feel better if he undresses everyone in the building, but to what end? Who's that good for? Does it give you the win back if John Harbaugh comes in and says, man, we seriously effed up? Everybody's very worked up yesterday. I'm just not sure what it is that you're worked up about. What is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for him to say, this was the most embarrassing display of football ever, and all these guys should be gone. I mean, I guess you probably are, but they're not going to be gone, so why? None of it bothers me. It's kind of theater at this point. They're not. I mean, what is he going to do? The guy that's going to be calling plays next Sunday or next Saturday. I'm going to do it all week this week. The guy that's going to be calling plays next Saturday, John Harbaugh, is supposed to walk in and say, "That's the worst play caller in the history of football. You guys are right." Either they're going to move on or they're not. They decided not to move on. So what? I don't know what you think he should do now. I don't know why you're so worked up about it. I think what you're really worked up about is that the Ravens lost. I think that's what it is. The city never handled it well. It's the nice thing about how much the Ravens win, is that when they lose, it's panic time. Everyone loses their minds. Today's show is also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com. Save $100 when you order your Ginsu Kamado Grill. Stop by the Game Day Firehouse this Saturday before the game, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium. Sample the cooking from the Ginsu Kamado Grill. Register to win your own, as well as $500 worth of grilling meats. Our friend Jonas Shaffer is back with us here on GCR. He, of course, covers the Baltimore Ravens for the Baltimore Sun. Jonas, I hear you're a little under the weather, man. I'm sorry to hear it. I hope you're feeling better and appreciate you taking the time.
All good, man. Just woke up with a headache yesterday. I'm back to 100%. No worries. Not an injury report.
No, you don't. We will not find you listed. If yesterday, what would you have listed yourself as?
Limited.
And you know what? I think that's fair. I think, and would you have been questionable for Saturday?
I think I probably wouldn't show up on the injury report. But I'm just built
look at you. Bold Jonas Shaffer. I appreciate you, man. Good to talk to you. I don't know what to say about a freaking press conference, man. It's theater most of the time, right? Like, it seems like this entire fan base is worked up. I don't know. I get it. They all wanted John Harbaugh to walk to the podium and say Greg Roman was fired. I understand that. But once that wasn't going to happen, I'm not really sure what there is to say at that point. Could there be more acknowledgement? Like, I thought it was soft. John Harbaugh saying, "Yeah, I guess we could have run in the fourth quarter," but I don't know what's going to make you feel better if he says, "Yeah, we really screwed that up," which I think most of us know is exactly what occurred when they got the ball back with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I keep coming back to the word culture, Glenn. You know, you are not going to go up there and take a big old dump over your coordinator or your coaches for the same reason that you're not going to fire your coordinator or your coaches for failing with a backup quarterback and an extremely limited wide receiver core, because you are trying to create a culture and an environment that fosters winning, productivity, teamwork, and, you know, what you do is a reflection on yourself, and that reflects back on the entire NFL and everyone who has ever considered working with you, will ever consider working with you, will ever consider signing with you. So I agree with you. I mean, you know, people look at these press conferences and pretty alarmingly high numbers and just don't grasp that nothing of significance really ever comes out of them, aside from maybe John explain that someone's going to be out for a little while, or, you know, saying that somebody messed up on a certain play, or that someone on another team is really good or not good. I mean, there's very little headline value that comes out of these press conferences. So if you haven't learned that lesson by now, then shame on you.
Jonas, admittedly, I used the word non-zero. Like, I didn't expect the Ravens to move on from Greg Roman, but I do think that was the low point. Like, what happened in the fourth quarter on Sunday in a game that was still winnable despite everything, and just utterly abandoning the thing that worked, was, I thought, a low point for someone who, frankly, as I've pointed out many times, has been very successful results-wise as a coordinator. And I said, look, you know, having been through this and knowing that these moves are made, I'm going to say I think it's a non-zero, but I didn't expect it to happen. What do you make of the idea of insulating? Do you get the sense that it's more, hey, we're going to have to run this guy. We don't have the horses to do something else. That we can't run another system at this point. So if we're going to run this guy's system, it might as well be this guy calling the plays. I guess just what do you make of the decision to not try to do something abrupt after what really did come off as a pretty low moment?
Yeah, I think when you look back at the last tectonic shift in this offense, it was obviously when they went from Joe Flacco to Lamar in 2018. And that at that point, they had the advantage of a bye week. They knew that Joe was banged up. They knew what they had in Lamar. They had someone in Greg Roman who, even though he wasn't offensive coordinator at that point, was still heavily involved in the run game and could, use those couple of weeks that they had basically to themselves to get things set up for Lamar. And here, I don't want to say they wasted their bye week because obviously they have made improvements on defense and things like that. But that time for a wholesale shift, a wholesale change has, I think, slipped by. I mean, at this point, you're not going to be able to, change up the playbook. You could obviously condense it. You could limit it to a certain number of plays to maybe make things easier on the wide receivers or the tight ends who sometimes don't know, who don't look like they know where they should be all the time. But to change something as structural as the language, if that is again relating to just certain players not knowing where to be, then that's not something you can change in season amid all the meetings and practices and workouts that these players are obligated to attend and execute and stuff like that. So I agree. I mean, I think that this is just a situation where the Ravens have to live or die with Greg Roman. And I know that it's a frightening prospect for a lot of fans, but as you pointed out, Glenn, I mean, whenever Giro's tenure here ends, whether it's in a couple of weeks or a couple of years, he's going to be probably, just in terms of results, the most successful Ravens offensive coordinator, at least in the regular season, maybe in their franchise history. And obviously that assertion is inextricable from the fact that he's had Lamar Jackson and a couple incredible young talents, but it still doesn't detract from what he's done and what he could do. I mean, despite everything that's happened this season, the metrics like this offense just because of what they were able to do against really good defenses, and maybe they'll be able to turn things around and get on just enough big runs, just enough big plays, just enough timely scrambles from Lamar to beat whatever heavyweight it is that they are likely to face in the postseason.
Jonas Shaffer is with us here on GCR. Jonas, it's so funny you bring that up because I keep saying that, I keep thinking about the future of this franchise and what's likely, and I still have to jump back in and say, but I can't tell you it's impossible. Like, it's just not impossible. That they obviously are a far different team running the ball when Ronnie Stanley's on the field, and certainly there is the possibility that J.K. Dobbins could still find that gear that's been missing these last couple of weeks and break off these home runs. And then if you add in Lamar Jackson, I don't think it's likely. I wouldn't be betting on the Ravens making some sort of significant run, but I can't ignore the fact that it's still possible that could occur down the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 27 points against the Jaguars. The Cowboys obviously finished with 34 yesterday, so about a touchdown difference. But this, that's the Ravens were like one or two plays away from equaling the Cowboys, and the Cowboys have one of the NFL's best offenses at this point. Even though they're a little banged up. I mean, to your point about J.K., yes, they would love to have that gear back, but looking at the NFL's Next Gen Stats page, I think last week, so the Pittsburgh game, he was like third in rush yards over expectation among qualified running backs. This week, despite again having one or two runs where you're like, oh man, if this was the old JK, just imagine.
Right.
He was still number one among all running backs in rush yards over expectation. He was basically averaging like 5 yards more per carry than the models and the metrics suggested someone facing the kind of boxes he was, getting the kind of blocking that he was getting, would do. So I think the Ravens are still very fortunate to have someone like JK, even if he's in a somewhat diminished, not quite at full strength feet. And, Tyler Huntley is not Lamar Jackson. And if Lamar comes back today if that puts them on track to play Sunday, they will be in better shape because Tyler Huntley is just making dumb reads. He's making bad throws. I mean, there was a play against, I think, Pittsburgh, Glenn. I think it was maybe like the first or second drive. Mark Andrews, aligned to the left side, in a wide split, and the cornerback against him lines up with inside leverage. So he's basically saying, I'm not going to let you run anything that's in breaking. And Mark Andrews' route on that play is like a quick hitter in breaker. So he's running like a slant or a short dig or something. That's Tyler Huntley's first read on the play, and he still throws it to Mark Andrews, who's being covered by a guy who's playing him. And he's not pressured, but it's just kind of a point and shoot situation where he expects him to be open. And if you remember that kind of lofted ball to Mark Andrews that maybe he should have had, it was kind of knocked down against Cleveland in the second quarter on Saturday. Like, he's wide open on that play. Patrick Ricard is wide open in the flat. Josh Oliver is leaking out after blocking the defensive end. He's extremely wide open. If you throw it to him over the middle, it's probably like a 5-yard pass that turns into a 20-yard catch and run. And instead they end up with, an incomplete on 1st and 10 off a nice play action pass. So there are things that with Lamar, you would expect some positive regression. And again, with just how incredibly well this running game is working right now, maybe that's enough with good special teams and good defense to beat someone.
Jonas, to your point about Tyler Huntley, I agree. I mean, I know that he's a backup quarterback in the NFL, but even by that standard, I thought he played poorly. I mean, like, truly poorly on Saturday. Is there a world in which if Lamar is not back on Saturday, the Ravens have to think about having a shorter leash for Tyler Huntley? Like, I have no idea if Anthony Brown can even play at a poor level in the NFL because we just haven't seen it. But, I mean, this was what you're talking about. It was bad. I mean, it was flat bad what we saw from Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't know how much respect defenses will give to Anthony Brown as a runner. I mean, the incredible thing about how well this Ravens offense is cooking is that they are doing without the gravitational pull that Lamar does have on run defenses. I mean, I was just looking at some of the stats last night. So right now, when Huntley's been on the field, they're averaging 5 yards per carry and 0.18 EPA per rush. The NFL leaders in those categories are the Chicago Bears in 5.4 yards per carry and the Philly Eagles in 0.14 EPA per rush. So that just gives you a sense of just how unbelievably proficient this rushing offense has been. And you look back at that like 50-ish yard run from J.K. against Pittsburgh. If you look at the safety, who's I think ultimately tracks J.K. down, he has to have a longer route to track down J.K. because he is buying Tyler Huntley running with the ball outside on that fake. And I just don't know with Anthony Brown, who was a good runner at Oregon. I think he had like 500 yards rushing, sells that as well as Tyler Huntley does, who, I think, but did you see the quote from Myles Garrett about just like what Tyler Huntley is, like a chicken cooking, like covered in grease, something like that. A lot of respect for Tyler Huntley's running ability, even though he is obviously not Lamar Jackson. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously Tyler Huntley has a track record of success. Anthony Brown does not. Anthony Brown is an undrafted rookie. Tyler Huntley's been through these December wars and probably has a better idea of what's to come. But, I mean, if he throws a couple picks and the running game is broken on a day like Saturday against Atlanta for whatever reason, then, maybe at that point you have no recourse but to change to someone like Anthony Brown.
At Jonas_Shaffer, of course, is how you follow him on Twitter. The Baltimore Sun, BaltimoreSun.com is where you see his stuff. Truly a gamer, my friend. This was your flu game. I mean, this was Michael Jordan in Utah, your performance that you delivered today.
Good, man.
So,
I'm good.
Hey, buddy, appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time, as always. Happy holidays, my friend.
Thanks, Glenn. You too. All the best to your fam.
Thanks, buddy. You too. That's Jonas Shaffer with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time for us. As always, of course, covers the Ravens for the Baltimore Sun. And I tend to agree with him. Like, we talked about that scenario. I'm still, if it's that bad, Jonas' point, if it's that bad, I would at least have to think about it. I would at least have to consider the possibility of going a different route. It was bad. I mean, really bad. PressBoxOnline.com/offers is the website for you to sign up for all of the best offers for sports betting. Great incentives available now here in the state of Maryland, including $200 in free bets from DraftKings after you place your first $5 bet, or $1,000 in risk-free bets from BetMGM. Time's limited to get these best offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to sign up today. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here on a Tuesday morning. We will talk some more Ravens as the show continues. But next week here in Annapolis, big major event, I guess the last major event of the calendar year here in the state of Maryland is the Military Bowl. Wednesday at 2 o'clock, UCF and Duke. Joining us now, a man who will be coming home to play in the Military Bowl. He is Duke wide receiver and Loyola Blakefield alum, Sykesville native. Joining us on GCR is Jordan Moore. Jordan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely, dude. I'm guessing that maybe like getting the announcement that you're going to Annapolis for your bowl game probably isn't for the greater part of the locker room the most exciting scenario that they could have imagined. I imagine there are guys who are like, wow, not quite the same as Miami or Phoenix or something like that. But I'm guessing you maybe were a bit more excited than a lot of your teammates were when you found out about this.
Oh, yes. I was definitely excited when we got the call that we were going to go to the Military Bowl because it felt like I was going to go back home. And now that the location's in Maryland, I have a lot of family and friends that are coming to support, and it should be a good time. And I can show all my friends and teammates what it's like to live in Maryland, the place to go.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Have you been playing the role of like salesman in the locker room? Like, guys, no, seriously, we're gonna get some crab cakes. Like, trip's gonna be great. You have no idea what this is gonna be as exciting as going anywhere.
Yes, sir. I've definitely told them about the famous crab cakes, and I invited whoever wants to come to my house for Christmas can come.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Have guys taken you up on it?
Some of my friends have, but we have a dinner Christmas night, so I'm not sure how to, but the invitation is always open.
That's really cool, man. Jordan Moore with us, of course, Loyola Blakefield alum. Jordan, take me back, man. Take me back growing up. When did you know? Like, when did it stick out to you? One, was it always football? And when did you know, like, hey, man, this could be something I might be able to do a little bit longer than everybody else?
Yeah, so I grew up in California, so I watched Daniel Thompson. That was my favorite football player. And ever since I was, like, really young, since I can remember, I wanted to play in front of a lot of people at the Power 5 level. And so I started playing when I was 5. And played flags and played tackle. Then when I got to high school, my freshman year, I played a little bit on the varsity level. And then my sophomore year, I had a pretty good year. And then the sophomore summer, I began getting offers. And I was like, wow, this is really happening. So after my junior year, I had about 22 offers. And I decided to commit to Duke. And it's always just been a dream come true. And I would give a lot of the credit to my parents because they raised me with a mindset that I can really do anything that I put my mind to. And whenever I would come to them with a goal or something that I wanted to do, it was never that I couldn't do it. It was, how are we going to get you to do it? So I really credit my parents a lot for instilling a mindset that I'm basically limitless. And that's, I think, what's carried me a long way.
So take me back to, like, how did you end up here from California? How old were you, and what was the story? How did you end up coming to the state of Maryland?
We came to Maryland when I was in preschool, and because my dad was in the military, so we got stationed in Maryland.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
So maybe the military bowl might even mean a little bit more to you than on top of it, right?
Yes, sir.
That's
cool. My whole family lives.
I mean, that's really cool. Jordan Moore is with us here on GCR. Jordan, the question of why Duke, of course, there's a lot of people around here that don't exactly love Duke. Now, that's far more a basketball thing than it is a football thing. But why Duke? I'm imagining, one, you got to be pretty freaking smart to end up at a place like that. But when you have all these offers, tell me about why it was that Duke was the place for you.
I feel like Duke was the place for me because, like I said before, I want to play football at the highest level. And I feel like the ACC is great competition. But along with that, my parents instilled education into our family. ever since I was young. So I wasn't going to go to a school that they didn't have a top tier education, and I felt like Duke was a blend of both. And I made a 40-year decision rather than a 4-year decision because Duke is a global brand that's known everywhere. So I feel like I made a decision for the betterment of my future.
Have you, I mean, obviously you're trending right now in a way that football could very much be a part of your future for a long time, but do you have goals in mind that if it ends up not being or whenever it ends up not being part of your future, do you have some other goals in mind that Duke is helping you towards?
Yes, I think I've built a lot of connections here, and after football, I would probably want to do something in the business field.
Okay.
But I'm not too sure the specifics on it, but that's something I'm very interested in.
That's awesome, man. I saw that you were the recipient of the Franklin D. Watkins Award, which is obviously a significant award as the nation's top African-American high school scholar athlete. What did that mean to you? Was that maybe almost as important as anything you've accomplished football-wise?
I think I would say I was very humbled to receive that award. I know there are so many African-American men who are scholar athletes that are doing great things in the nation right now, and I was very humbled that I was the one who was selected the winner. But I couldn't help but think about all the other African Americans that are using their platform to uplift little kids that look like us to achieve their goals as well.
That's awesome, man. That's an incredible thing. I kudos to you for doing that and for lifting up an entire community. It's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The position thing, right? Tell me a little bit about that. Quarterback, wide receiver. Are we going to see you maybe playing like slot linebacker? Are we going to see you maybe doing some holding in the Military Bowl? Tell me about how all that came about.
Well, I came in to Duke as a quarterback. Well, let me back up. High school, I played mostly quarterback. I played receiver my freshman year. And then I came into Duke. I got recruited as a quarterback and played 1 year here at quarterback. And then fall camp, I got moved to receiver. But I just look at myself as a football player, and I want to impact the field in any way I can. So when I got moved to receiver, I just made the most of it and just tried to run with my opportunity.
I feel like that's an understatement, right? Like you go from not playing the position to 57 catches, 643 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's pretty notable. Was it as seamless as it feels like it was for you? Or were there moments for you where maybe it wasn't as perfect and you're glad that, like, nobody sees those things?
Well, I mean, it definitely wasn't as seamless as people think, but I wouldn't say I was glad that people didn't see the struggle because I don't think anything good can come without struggle. So I remember, I would like to credit all the receivers in the room that helped me specifically after practice every day, working on route running and timing, and I would credit all my coaches as well. And also the defensive backs, because we stayed back every day after practice, working press releases, working routes. So I feel like toward the end of the season, I really felt like I was becoming more comfortable in the position. But I really credit it to my teammates who would take the time after practice to help me get better.
That's awesome, man. Are you committed now? Like, do you have the feeling of I am a wide receiver, or is there still a party that says, boy, I wouldn't mind it if before I wrapped up, I got a chance to maybe show everybody again what I could do at the quarterback position?
No, I'm 100% in on wide receiver.
I mean, it seems like there's a serious path perhaps for you at this point. It seems like this could be – do you start to feel that? Like this ultimately could end up being your ticket to playing on Sundays?
Yes, sir. That's my goal to play on Sundays, and whatever's going to take me there, I'm going to take it and run with it.
Happens to be a team in Baltimore that could still use a lot of wide receivers. Nothing's really changed over the years, so might be something that we'd be monitoring over the course of the next couple of years, because that would be – you think this is a cool homecoming, that would be an even more amazing homecoming if it were to play out that way. Jordan Moore is with us, just another couple of minutes here on GCR. Jordan's, with that in mind, did you grow up a Ravens fan, or were you still rooting for the Chargers or somebody like that from when you were, little and being in California?
I grew up a Chargers fan for most of my life, and then when Lamar Jackson came to Baltimore, that's when I really started watching the Ravens more.
I mean, dude, like, how could you not have that guy playing right down the street from you and be like, I want to watch that guy. I want to be in on it, man. It is absolutely a joy, huh?
Yes, sir. I mean, he's the most electric player I've ever seen play. So just having him like so close where we can watch him every Sunday, that was something that was really cool.
Did you ever get an opportunity to play in Annapolis before? I mean, obviously, you guys. I'm trying to think of the math. I know the MIAA championships are there, but I can't. You guys weren't in any of those at any point, were you?
No, sir. I don't think I've ever played in. No, I don't think I've ever played in a Navy stadium.
So this will be cool. This will be the opportunity to play somewhere. Obviously, a big place that is back home. That'll be a really cool storyline. You guys. How disheartening was it? Were you able to watch on Thanksgiving? And how disheartening was it when it looked like the Dons had a chance to make it back-to-back in the Turkey Bowl?
Oh, yes, that definitely was disheartening. We were at practice, so I didn't even know what was going on until I saw the score. And then I actually drove back home for Thanksgiving after practice for like a day. And it kind of hurt a little bit. But the Loyola program is really on the come up. They've done a lot. They've got a lot of kids that are going D1 now. So, I mean, looking at the positive side of it, the program is improving, and Coach Zayu is helping kids reach their goals and go to play college at the next level.
That's cool. That's cool. Jordan, before I let you go, how do you, again, as somebody who spent most of your upbringing in Baltimore, is there a way that you find this place that's molded you and that you carry with you as you now play at the next level and look to move on, obviously, to the level beyond that?
Yes, I would say that living in Maryland, is really, like most of my life, is really the moments that kind of shaped me. And I would say the high school that I went to, Loyola Blakefield, was definitely one of the biggest factors or the biggest contributing factors to my development as a man. And I owe a lot of credit to Loyola Blakefield, President Anthony Day, and Coach Zayu for bringing me in as an 8th grader and like helping me achieve my dream of playing at the Division I level. And they had the whole school ever since I got there was nothing but supportive. So I can really never thank them enough.
It's awesome, man. That is awesome. All right. He is a gentleman and a scholar. And if you don't believe me, check his Instagram page right now. At JOMO__05 is how you can follow him there. And on Twitter, it's at JMoore2021, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Jordan Moore, congratulations on a massive season. We can't wait to see what's next for you as you continue along this path, and we'll dream of maybe there being a day where Jordan Moore is lining up in purple in Baltimore. That would be really cool. Looking forward to seeing you back here for the Military Bowl next Wednesday. Thank you for taking the time. Very happy holiday to you and your family, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good holiday season, and I appreciate you bringing me on for the call.
Absolutely, man. Jordan Moore, Loyola Don and Sykesville native, appreciate him taking the time for us. Baltimore County Police Department still collecting non-perishable food items and unwrapped toys. Stop by any of the Baltimore County Police Department precincts this week, and you can drop them off through Friday to help those in need in the community this holiday season. We appreciate the support. And, of course, join BaltimoreCountyPD.com is the website to find out more. If you're thinking about a career change, know someone who's trying to get their feet off the ground. $10,000 signing bonus, very competitive salaries with the Baltimore County Police Department. Patrick Stevens joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Join the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park for Christmastide Stakes Day on Monday, December 26th. An exciting day of live horse racing awaits you with a whopping 6 stakes races worth $600,000 in prize money. Plus, enjoy a specially curated stakes buffet, a delicious hot chocolate bar, and hot cider cocktails. It may be cold, but Laurel Park has plenty of horse racing excitement, food, and beverages to keep you warm. Don't miss Christmastide Stakes Day at Laurel Park. Visit laurelpark.com for more info.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The weather outside is really unpleasant, so it's time to warm up with some comfort classics this winter at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Try the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. It's 2 full pounds of meat, the mac and cheese bites, Mr. Richards meatloaf, the citrus salmon, the winter spinach salad, and for dessert, here's internet radio personality Griffin Bass to tell you about the bourbon butter cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. Place your order now at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show, too.
All right, back in here on GCR. Of course, if you are still looking for a simple holiday meal, and this goes through to, say, New Year's Eve, if you're already thinking about that, I've told the story a few times. My cousin Justin one time, one of the more miraculous things he did, he took Chick-fil-A nuggets and paired them with mini Eggo waffles, and we had like a chicken and a waffle bit on New Year's Eve. It was incredible. If you're looking for that simple holiday meal, try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app. Bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. It is Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we talk college sports with our friend from the Washington Post. You follow him on Twitter at Discourse D1S Course. He is our buddy Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. Happy holidays to you. Thank you for taking the time for us as always.
And happy holidays to you, Glenn. Glad to be here.
I don't know what we make. I think it's easy to say, and I know that Kevin Willard said afterwards, look, sometimes you get your butt kicked. That's the way that sports work. I think the question, particularly for this Maryland team, is more, was this kind of inevitable? Were they swimming above their height for a little while, and this was going to end up happening, or was this really just one game on one night against an opponent that happened to have your numbers significantly?
It's probably a little bit of both. I mean, let's face it. Like, if we went back to the start of the season and said, well, if this team was 8-3 in mid-December, what would you think of it? And you would have said that was pretty good.
No question.
Right? Like, you would have sized that up and said that you had games against two of St. Louis, Miami, and Providence, a game against Louisville, not realizing that Louisville was going to be as bad as it is, and then Illinois, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and UCLA. And so that would have been 7 games between that group of teams. So you're telling me that they would have gone 4-3 in those games? I think you would have been pretty happy with that, all things considered. So I think for people that got their hopes up, last Wednesday was kind of a sobering moment. I should also point out UCLA played really, really well.
No question.
And then they went up to the Garden and played really, really well again against Kentucky. So losing by a lot to that team. I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought that Maryland was going to be on UCLA's level when the season started. So to come away with that result, obviously disheartening. But I don't find myself really with a vastly different opinion of Maryland. But I mean, you know me, like I'm more inclined to make a change of opinion much slower than a lot of people. I mean, they're probably a little bit better overall in aggregate than I thought they were going to be at this point. And getting whipped by UCLA doesn't really change that any. But I also think that to your point, that having games like that, there are probably going to be a few of them sprinkled in over the course of the season. That Tennessee game looked like it was headed in that direction. So maybe if you want to sit there and be a little worried about that, that's okay. But you're also talking about having that happen against, 2 top 10 teams. And, I don't think anybody really thought Maryland was going to be a top 10 team this
year. The slow starts in particular, I feel like there's enough there that this is a trend. This is a real issue. This isn't just, hey, it was a game or two. Post that trip up to the Hall of Fame event, it seems like that's a real thing.
Well, it certainly feels like that's one thing that hasn't changed, right? Year over year.
That's fair.
And
that's fair.
Tenure over tenure.
Yeah.
So, it's almost kind of a running joke in some ways. Oh, slow start here. I in that sense, I'm willing just to flush the UCLA game and go, okay. No, if you want to sit there and say there's nothing in the tank, that's a good excuse for that. I will also point out that they just went and played 3 really good defensive teams in a row. I mean, if we're sitting here like lining up what those teams are, Wisconsin's 16th in KenPom, Tennessee's 1st, and UCLA's 11th. So in terms of not being able to get started, and in the case of the UCLA game, not being able to get going at all, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that those teams are really, really good on defense, and Maryland isn't quite good enough on offense, and not as good as I think they illustrated earlier in the season. I mean, frankly, I feel like it's kind of evened itself out here a little bit, that Maryland's probably going to be a better defensive team when all things are said and done rather than an offensive team. And some of that is a function of, there's limitations in the post, especially if Julian Reese gets in foul trouble. And some of it's a function of you're going to find yourself in a few of those rock fights when you get into Big Ten play. So I do think that's something that has leveled and evened itself out.
He is Patrick Stevens. He's with us here on GCR. Patrick, they come out of this stretch, right? And, you get a little bit of a break, and then you see a St. Peter's team that I don't know. It is probably a little bit more difficult than the game that you would want to be playing at this point after going through a stretch like this. But what is St. Peter's now removed from the magic of the run with Shaheen Holloway at the helm last year?
Well, there's not a whole lot left, frankly, from that team. There are some familiar names locally. Kyle Cardesi, the former Coppin State guard, is playing for them this year. Another name that is somewhat local, Jaden Sadler. The Sadler brothers have all come through Aberdeen High. He played the last 4 years at Southern and is playing as a grad transfer because St. Peter's hired away one of Southern's assistants.
Isn't one of the Sadlers on staff at Maryland now?
Yeah, I mean they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, and they were all really, really good players. There's 3 of them. If I recall their number right. There might have been a fourth that I'm forgetting.
Tavon Sadler is at Maryland now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Devon, I believe, and then Jaden, I believe, are the Sadler brothers. But in any case, they were all really good players.
No doubt.
St. Pete's, they're not off to a great start. Not shocking given how much turnover that they've had. They are coming off back-to-back victories. They picked off Quinnipiac at home to get on the board in conference play. They beat a Hartford team that's really kind of a shell of a Division I program at this point, given everything that's happened up there. So they come in at 6-5. They're 1-2 in the Metro Atlantic. This is not the same St. Peter's team as last year. It doesn't have the same coach. The players have pretty much all, I shouldn't say all, but most of the players have kind of scattered to the wind here. So it's not the same team. But that doesn't mean that that's not an interesting spot to try to catch somebody. Coming out of exams, and a St. Pete's team that will have played, on a somewhat regular schedule. They'll go Sunday, Thursday, whereas Maryland will have gone 8 days between games. So certainly a chance that the Peacocks can make things interesting. Also a chance that Hakeem Hart can have another career day against them like he did a couple of years ago. I think he had 29 or 31 or something like that against St. Pete's during the pandemic season. I'm bringing that box score up now just to remind myself. It was 32. I'm
That's
cheating
right.
him a little bit.
I do vaguely remember that now. Yeah.
So he had 32 points. That was like one of those 3 in the afternoon games or something like that kept getting scheduled that year just to sort of fill television time. So I think St. Pete's is a team that is better, obviously, than maybe what you would necessarily want to see in that spot. But I also don't think this is the same sort of team that we saw in March last year.
The game after that, and we'll talk about it next week, I think that on the local front, the headline is probably UMBC, who's now won 6 straight. And I know the game at Loyola wasn't necessarily pretty down the stretch, but they're getting the job done. They're maybe even mixing in a little bit of defense in the process.
I don't. Maybe a little bit. Maybe. They're still a team that's among the 10 worst at defending the 3 nationally.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a concern. But if you get the version of Maryland that goes out and shoots, 2 of 24 from 3, who knows, right? And so UMBC, when you size them up, you take away, that first week of the season where they got beat at Tulane by 22 and they had a clunker against Princeton. And since then, they started to play pretty well. They almost got UNC Greensboro down in Greensboro. They lost 79-70 to Georgetown. They scored on Georgetown like everybody did. And since then, since the 30th of November, they've ripped off, like you said, 6 in a row, handled Loyola and William & Mary in the past week, and now they get 11 days off to get ready for Maryland before diving into conference play. So you look at them, and there's a lot to like about that offense. They got 19 from Jacob Bunyasith the other day against William & Mary, 14 from Colton Lawrence, and 12 from Deion Brown, the freshman, off the bench. So if he's going to be a factor for them moving forward, and that was only, the last week was basically the first time that he's played extensively for them. He hadn't played until the Morgan State game and then had 21 against Loyola and 12 against William & Mary. So that is an interesting variable for the Retrievers at this point, to have a freshman that's suddenly making them deeper and making them even more dangerous on offense. So that's another one of those calendar spots. You think about spots that you want to catch somebody, right? Like you can catch somebody in an opener when they don't know who you got. You can catch somebody after finals. You can catch somebody right around Christmas, right after Christmas. Those are ideal spots to try to do it. And so, if you're UMBC, you got to feel like this is as good a chance as any as you're going to get to pick off Maryland, especially since it looks like you guys offensively are going to be able to keep pace with just about anybody. I think defensively is a fair question, but when you look at what they've done, I mean, they have been over 70 points in all but 2 games this season, and over 70 points in 11 consecutive games. So that stands out as something that could create some problems for the Terps.
And obviously not likely to have much energy in the building with the students not there. Just, could be a unique spot to try to go do something. Patrick, I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like you and I haven't really talked about, as we go to the national front, UConn much this season and just how legitimate they are at this point, obviously rising to number 2 this week with Virginia losing to Houston.
Well, it's not like anybody's really given them a really good run at this point, right? I mean, you look at their margins, and it is consistently a very large number. You look at what they did out in Portland, and they beat Oregon by 24, Alabama by 15, and Iowa State by 18. They've picked off Oklahoma State by 10 and Florida by 21. They open conference play against Butler. They're not great on offense, and they nonetheless still win by 22. So there is a lot to like about how good they are on both ends of the floor. Sonogo in the paint is really one of the top bigs in the country. They have a lot of guys, and they play a fair number of guys at this point. Bench minutes for them on KenPom, 36%. So that's 52nd nationally, which means they're basically going deep. Now, some of that is a function of they've had a lot of blowouts, so they've been able to play guys. But they are really good at both ends of the floor. And it sure looks like Dan Hurley has a team that is positioned to have a really, really good run through the Big East. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to go undefeated. But I will say that if they struggle tonight against Georgetown, it might be the most surprising thing that happens all season.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
they right now, they're a couple games removed from scoring 100. Georgetown just gave up 100. It would not be a surprise to see UConn flirt with 100 points tonight in stores as they head into Christmas. Interesting stretch for them coming out of Christmas, though. They get Villanova at home next week, and then they go to Xavier and to Providence, a regional game of some note, before they get struggling Creighton at home and then go to Marquette. So a really a stretch there after the holiday. I don't know if they make it through that unscathed, but overall there is a lot to like about UConn, and certainly impressed about as much as anybody has at this point.
Anything else on the national front that's worthy of conversation today?
I don't think so. I give some credit to Gonzaga, by the way, for being able to get itself back on track after a few of those early losses. They handled Alabama in Birmingham the other day, put up 100 on the Crimson Tide. So, Gonzaga is back to being Gonzaga as you would kind of expect. Another team that's worth mentioning, Arizona now 10-1 after beating Tennessee. They got Indiana a week earlier. They've got the nation's most efficient offense, according to KenPom. They had that one loss at Utah to start the month, but a lot to like about the Wildcats, who already have won a tournament in Maui. And I think, we'll see them. They play Morgan State on Thursday. The Bears go to Tucson in a game on the Pac-12 network. So, that's a kind of a local tie-in there for Arizona, which I think has impressed a great deal in the early going.
All right, it's time for our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB players that this particular player, or the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? I talk for a living, Patrick. It's going quite well for me, as you can tell. I begin with one that was admittedly tricky for me. I don't know why I didn't remember. The one I can understand why I didn't remember. I didn't remember another one at all. 3-time All-Star, a former Rookie of the Year, 3 times in the top 10 of MVP voting, and a 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner. 4 teams for Hanley Ramirez.
Hanley Ramirez. Well, Hanley Ramirez was most obviously a Marlin, right?
Yes, that's where he was. All 3 of his All-Star seasons occurred in Florida.
Okay, he was in Boston.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Now, I didn't remember this. Did you know he played 2 games with the Red Sox before he was ever a Marlin?
No, I don't think I knew that.
In 2005, he appeared in 2 games with the Red Sox. I don't know if it was the Mike Lowell trade, maybe, that sent him to. I had no idea that that was the case. But yes, he did end up back in Boston as well in 2015, and I did. Though you've gotten the 2 that I remember.
Okay. Gosh. This is where you think, okay, Marlins of that era, you're getting you get the who went to Detroit, right? That was Miguel Cabrera.
Oh yeah.
So Hanley Ramirez, I'm thinking maybe the Dodgers here.
Nailed it. I do not remember it at all, but there were 3 seasons. 12. He was a trade deadline acquisition in 2012. Stayed there through 2013 and 14. I had no memory whatsoever of Hanley Ramirez as a Dodger. And then this one, of course, being the tricky one, he finished his career with a 16-game cameo appearance somewhere in 2019.
In 2019, huh?
Yeah.
That does feel like a White Sox kind of thing to have happen.
Boy, that is not far off, my friend. Not far off. Elsewhere in the division.
Elsewhere in the division. It wasn't Detroit, was it?
It wasn't Detroit. It was Cleveland.
He was in
for
Cleveland,
16 games in 2019, and I have no memory.
I do not remember that at all.
Not even a little bit. How about, can you do, oh, man, I'll leave that one alone. We'll go 4 teams for Alfonso Soriano. 4 teams.
Well, the Yankees.
Of course.
And Washington.
Yep.
And the Cubs.
Yep.
And then the last one, I think, is a little trickier.
Oh, this one I got. He was a part of a very famous trade.
Was he in Texas?
That's correct. He was part of the A-Rod trade, of course. This is how he ended up in Texas.
That's right.
Well done, sir. I know there's not a lot going on the rest of the week. Where will your travels take you?
I'll see Coppin State twice this week. They host James Madison at a lovely 11 a.m. tip tomorrow in West Baltimore, and then catching both American against Siena and Maryland St. Peter's tomorrow, on Thursday.
Yeah.
Sorry. The days really kind of blend together at this time of year. And then Coppin, one of the few teams playing nationally on Friday, 4:00 tip out at George Mason. So getting 2 looks at Coppin, and that'll bring things in for the holidays before starting back up on the 28th or 29th.
Perhaps getting to see the man who could end up leading the nation in scoring. I think Sam Sessoms is in the top 5 right now, isn't he?
Top 5 nationally. So, yeah, and they're running into a George Mason team. Well, both of those teams that they'll play, George Mason has gotten itself on a roll here and won 5 in a row since it got back from the Paradise Jam, including a victory out in Chicago over Tulane in that event that Towson struggled in. Meanwhile, tomorrow, James Madison coming in, a team that's coming off back-to-back 100-point games. They were up 62 points on LIU in the middle of the second half the other day. It was like 89-27 before LIU rallied to get it to within 115-79 in the end. So I expect to see a lot of points tomorrow morning. That if you like good offense, that might not be a bad thing to try to get a look at.
Squeeze in, understandably so, no doubt. All right, man. At Discourse, D1S Course is how you follow him on Twitter. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, my friend. Merry Christmas to you, to your family. We'll talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome. Take care, Glenn.
It's Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR as we wind down for hour number 1 of the program. Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley caught up with Dr. Meredith Wills. You can find that right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, and PressBoxOnline.com/video. All right. I apologize for this. I just realized today that yesterday I forgot to say Happy Hanukkah to all of our friends who are celebrating. If you are enjoying some celebration this week, hope that it is fun and delicious. If anyone wants to invite me over for brisket and latkes, I'm in. I just want that to be known. I'm down. I don't know which night would work, but I'd be all in for some brisket and latkes. Hope you're having a wonderful Hanukkah celebration. Still to come this hour, we will catch up with Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst, and, well, overdue, Griffin will give us his next movie review.
That's correct.
What are we doing today? Old School?
Old School.
All right. Today, Griffin will review Old School. Did you decide what you're going to watch for Thursday?
I think I'm going to watch
Tommy Boy
tomorrow night.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, good. That's important. We need that.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we'll do double movie reviews with Griffin this week.
Wow.
Today.
Big week.
Yeah, big. This is the one. Everybody's been waiting for this moment. Today we'll do Old School. So that's all on the way. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of The Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, January 3rd at Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialist and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The weather outside is really unpleasant, so it's time to warm up with some comfort classics this winter at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Try the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. It's 2 full pounds of meat, the mac and cheese bites, Mr. Richards meatloaf, the citrus salmon, the winter spinach salad, and for dessert, here's internet radio personality Griffin Bass to tell you about the bourbon butter cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. Place your order now at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by UMBC basketball, who we were just talking about with Patrick Stevens a minute ago. They're off until the Maryland game, and then after that, big showdown New Year's Day against Vermont. You're not going to want to miss it. Going to be an electric atmosphere at the Peak. You got to be there, umbcretrievers.com, in order to get your tickets for the New Year's Day showdown. All right, you want to go out of order? You want to do a movie review now, and then we can talk Joe Serpico?
Yeah, we can do it like that. You think we have enough time to get in?
That's going to be up to you. How much do you have to say about the Old School?
I guess we can do it now. Yeah,
Let's do it now. Let's hit the thing.
Okay. All right, hold on. I'm pulling it up.
It is time for movie reviews with Griffin.
Who did that?
I did that.
You did that?
Yeah, I went into GarageBand and did that on.
I appreciate the effort you put into it. The audio.
I know. Yeah, I hearing it now through the headphones.
I need you to know
was not good.
I'm in on the effort. We need to try it again just for the audio delivery of it. All right, but I like. Trust. I want. This is a compliment sandwich, right? Great effort. Bad audio, but appreciate the work that was put in. All right? Do you hear that?
Yeah.
It's a compliment sandwich. 2 compliments with a criticism. That's the meat, but surrounded by 2 compliments. I do want you to know, I like that you did it. I like the effort. Just the audio a problem. We're going to have to do it again because of that, all right?
Yeah.
But
I understand.
It was worth the shot, all right? Worth the shot. And again, I want you to do it again. Maybe have somebody else voice it, right?
Okay.
Maybe when Jeremy's in here on Thursday, he's going to be drunk. That might not work. We'll see how it goes. All right, so the film that you viewed this time around was Old School. Tell me what you knew about Old School before you viewed the film.
Really nothing.
Nothing at all?
Which is the way I like, nothing at all. I mean, like, I guess
know,
like when I clicked on it, I was like, oh, Will Ferrell's in this.
You didn't know who was in. You had never heard of the film Old School.
Not really, no.
This is terrifying.
Yeah. This is the way I like to go into movies, though.
But it's terrifying to me. I know you're young. What year were you born?
I was born in 2000.
So, of course, you were 3 years old when Old School was released in theaters in 2003, which was joyous for all of us who went to the Cinemaplex to view Old School.
Excellent length. Under 90 minutes.
I did not remember that, but okay, sure. I believe that.
Well, you're going from Avatar 2 to
So when you saw it was a Will Ferrell picture, did you find yourself excited for that?
Yeah, I mean, always. It's Will Ferrell, and I think.
But aren't you a big Vince Vaughn guy too?
I'm a big Vince Vaughn
fan.
man.
Didn't we learn that about you?
Yeah. So once I found out Vince Vaughn was in it, I was even more excited.
Yeah.
And those two carried it. I was a little disappointed because it seemed like they kind of just forgot that Vince Vaughn was in the movie about halfway through.
No, they most certainly did not.
Felt like he disappeared, and we could have used a lot more of Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell.
He was the straight man in the film. You understand that, right? Like, you understand both he and Luke Wilson were straight men in the film. Will Ferrell was the comedic star of the picture.
Well, yes, yeah.
Whereas the other two were there to kind of be the straight man. It's funny because Luke Wilson played the straight man, but there's also a bit of a problem with Luke Wilson's character that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll
his
get
first
to
night in
it.
the house. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big problem with his character that we're not really talking
Yeah,
about.
which is why. So I feel this. It doesn't hold up quite as well as Wedding Crashers.
No, that specific part of it in 2003 should have been more problematic. It's the type of thing that they should have said, no, we can't leave this in.
Mm-hmm.
We know what you were trying to do here. There was a better way to go about doing it, and they failed miserably upon that. But that's the only part of it that I would say does not hold up because of time. Tell me, I guess, give me two things you enjoyed about the film, two things you did not maybe enjoy about the film.
Of course, Will Ferrell is Frank going on once he got drunk for the first time, I guess, in a while.
Yes.
And his rampage.
Do you have any idea how many of us yelled out the words, "We're going streaking"?
I feel like you probably speak for the entire population.
Not just I. I did it a lot.
I did not know.
Trust me, I did it a lot.
Because obviously when the Orioles hit a home run or they score a big run or something,
Yes.
they throw Will Ferrell.
Yes, they do the
doing
Frank the Tank.
Yeah,
Yes, 100%.
So that was cool to see. I was like, oh, that's where that comes from.
There, some of the more popular lines that were repeated over and over again. This is in an era of movie lines just being repeated ad nauseum. Not only we're going streaking, and we always would say, "Bring your green. You can bring your green hat." We would say that a lot whenever we would be in a drunken state. But you would also add in the once it hit your lips, it's so good. Like if you were out drinking with some friends, not even bonging necessarily, but just having a like, hey, you want a beer? I don't know, man. Like, oh God, once it hits your lips, you're so good. Say that a lot.
Brian Callen is the waiter in the diner.
Okay.
That was very cool to see. I thought he was great for I guess, the couple lines that he had.
Yeah, not a lot there.
No.
It's a weird
but
one.
I love Brian Callen, so that was.
From what? Why do you love?
Because of the 10-minute podcast that he did.
Okay.
Back in.
I was not familiar.
Back at the beginning of like around 2012, I think when he started.
Right.
With interesting group, Krista Lee and Will Sasso, which of course.
It's just very random.
Yeah, it is very random, but it's a funny podcast. Yeah. But I like Brian Callen a lot. I think he's
all right,
very funny, and so seeing him whenever he's got a weird random part, whether The Hangover or.
So those are your favorite things from the picture?
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean,
that's very disappointing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wedding
Crashers.
Really
I enjoyed Wedding Crashers much more. It also, because of what Luke Wilson did at the beginning. It felt
were so clouded by that. This is interesting to me. I will at least give you an argument for this. But you didn't know what Luke Wilson had done until later in the film. It doesn't become clear that he had slept with an underage girl until far later in the movie, right? Like at the time,
it felt like too much.
It was just a girl that was going to class. You assumed she was in college at that point. You didn't find out.
Well, even so, he's like 30-something.
I mean, come on, man. Let's try to. No, if you were disturbed by that, then that's a you problem. The idea of somebody sleeping with a college-age girl, like, come on, like that's not. There's nothing hinky about that. The problem becomes when we realize, no, she's not in college.
Right.
And no, again, I'm giving you that is a troublesome part of this picture. It's not. I'll give you an example. People believe Almost Famous to be a great motion picture. Almost Famous is terrible. Now, I thought it was a great motion picture the first time I watched it. Now I realize it's nothing more than a celebration of statutory rape. That's all it is. There's nothing with a good soundtrack. That's all the picture is. It's a bad film, and I get into a lot of fights with people about it because everyone thinks about Almost Famous romantically as a Cameron Crowe picture. It's horrible. It is a horrible film that I would normally I would say don't watch again. I would encourage you to watch it again to realize how bad it was. This is not that, but it is interesting that as someone who never got to experience it at the time before we really started having a conversation that we needed to have in this country, that clouded your judgment of the entirety of the film. That is interesting to me because it doesn't do that for me. It's still a hilarious film with one really troublesome part in there that I acknowledge is troublesome. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so that definitely holds it back.
What else did you not
considerably.
like about the picture?
Let me try to figure out because it has been a little bit since I watched it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Maybe we should have freshened this up
yeah, I
before we
know.
did this.
I'm
Maybe that would have
sorry,
been.
I'm sorry,
maybe that
but
would
I
have been
mean,
a
I
good
don't know. It was
strategy.
just I don't know. It wasn't a whole lot. I guess it was just it was a harder. It sounds weird saying it's a harder concept to grasp. Just like 3 middle-aged dudes moving into a frat house and starting
But
a fraternity.
They didn't move into a frat house.
Sorry, Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson moved into a house.
Yeah.
That again, the idea of this doesn't
It's just
necessarily
so absurd.
But,
There's
spending
plenty of funny
so
parts.
much time on that, trust me, the idea that a college could just take your house doesn't work. Doesn't work. Although I'm sure similar scenarios has happened because it's a terrible place. They would buy your house. They would have the right to buy your house, something along those lines, right? Like that would be the way that it would go. But from there, everything Blue, you're my boy, Blue. Oh my God, the number of times that we yelled out, "You're my boy, Blue." Oh God, what a sad.
I just don't have there's just not, I obviously don't have the nostalgia
What's
for
the
it.
big kid's name when the rope is tied to his thing and they pull him down to the ground? Oh God, God, I hate you for this.
Yeah,
This is disturbing. Your reaction to the greatness of old school. I can't even remember.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. I do. You don't like the 5. I know you don't like the 5-star ranking, but I give it a 3 out of 5.
No. We abandoned the 5-star ranking. We're not doing a 5-star ranking. We're doing a 10, a 0 to 10 ranking.
All right, then it's going to be, probably about a 6 to 6.5. It was other than Will Ferrell.
The tranquilizer dart scene is one of the great scenes in modern comedy. The tranquilizer dart scene. I pee
that
my
one is good.
pants laughing at it every time.
I mean,
what is wrong?
I wasn't
with you?
peeing my pants.
I'm not sure if I want this segment to continue. I'm not sure. If you can't find joy,
so this
in
should have been
old
this should have been a
school-
10 out of 10.
No, not a 10. This did not need to be a 10. But this needed to be at least a 7.
I did have joy.
7.5 was where and the only reason I'm even willing to go to 7.5 is because of the statutory rape scene. Like that's the only part about it that drops that down to me. If without that, it's an 8 or a 9, easy. I'm starting to wonder if you can feel joy. I'm starting to wonder if joy is something that you feel in your life whatsoever.
I felt joy watching Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers is a very good film. Nobody's debating that. This is, of course, when Todd Phillips and that gang was sort of owning the comedy realm.
They were owning it.
They really were. Like of course, Todd Phillips, who a younger generation knows because he did that Joker film. I don't remember what it was called. Oh, The Joker.
Just
yeah,
Joker.
That's what it was
Just
called.
Joker.
Correct. It was just The Joker, now that I think about it. Todd Phillips and his merry band was it's almost
something else recently. What else did he do?
I don't know. Oh God, I'm here for the that's Todd Phillips himself who's there for the gangbang, correct? You realize that's him.
Gangbang?
At the door when they realizes that his wife's cheating on him.
Oh,
it's because Todd Phillips comes to the door, they open it up and he says, "I'm here for the gangbang."
That was Todd Phillips?
That was Todd Phillips. Yes, that's the great Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips, of course, gave us Road Trip, which is on the list. Old School, the Starsky and Hutch remake, which was okay. Like, it was okay, and that's about all it was. Was the director of The Hangover.
Mm-hmm. Due Date.
Yeah, Due Date was fine.
Road Trip, which is on the list.
I just said that.
Oh, you did?
I just literally said those words.
I was thinking, I was thinking of War Dogs, which I watched,
I actually enjoyed War Dogs. By the way, I thought that was a good film.
Yeah, I liked War Dogs too.
Todd Phillips had a hell of a run. You know what's funny is I actually thought that Todd Phillips was also involved in Wedding Crashers, but apparently was not, which is surprising to me, and I would have lost that bet. All right, well, we'll see how it goes with Tommy Boy. We will see that as Griffin will give us his next movie review this Friday as we try to have him watch some classic comedies that he is far too young to have cared about, and that disturbs me greatly. But our next Griffin's movie review will be this Thursday. All right, today's show, again, a reminder, best offers for sports betting are available right now at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. including $100 in free bets from Barstool after you place your first $10 bet, or up to $1,500 in risk-free bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of these sports books, so go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. And with that in mind, I also feel like it's appropriate to remind you that gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit and stay within it. And remember, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. It is Tuesday, and unfortunately, it's no longer relevant for your pal. Nothing that can be done to save me, because Tyler Higbee's late touchdown stuck a dagger through my heart last night. But alas, I guess some of you are still competing for fantasy football titles. So joining us now to try to help us out with Waiver-Wire Wednesday is PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico. Joe, good morning. Happy holidays, my friend. Thank you for taking the time, as always.
Absolutely. You know, I'm in here anytime, and I feel your pain a little bit. I'm in playoffs in one league, but had to bow in a couple others. So fighting for one, but you know, I don't really like my chances considering I have Jalen Hurts in that league, and the news this morning was, yesterday afternoon was a little rough.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're not going to be playing Gardner Minshew. I'm guessing that's not the best option for fantasy for Jalen Hurts owners.
Well, actually, I don't know if you recall, but last year when Minshew did have to step in and replace for Hurts, he actually had a pretty damn good fantasy performance. So if you're really scrapping for somebody at that position, I wouldn't hesitate to put Minshew in there. We've kind of seen the past couple of weeks that the Cowboys' defense is a little bit suspect. Everybody was giving them, mounting them the top defense of football not that long ago, but it doesn't seem like they are in the past couple of weeks between what we saw against the Jaguars and the Texans before that. They're definitely beatable. So if you need Minshew in a pinch, I don't think it's the worst option available. I probably can name about 10 other names I wouldn't want ahead of Minshew. But I'm sure we'll just talk about a couple other guys that are probably a little bit higher up on the radar.
Well, I think the one, I know you were dismissive of him last week. We have to talk about playing Brock Purdy, don't we?
Yeah, well, so yes, he was the name I put in as my top quarterback playing for this week, just because the way that Kyle Shanahan, we talked about in the past, is just offensive genius, and he just finds a way to continue getting these guys. You know, everybody wants to write off Jimmy G every year, and the guy just takes them over to the Super Bowl every year. Now he's doing it over Brock Purdy. You know, he looked pretty good when he had Trey Lance in there for the limited action that he was in there this year. So honestly, we might have to just say that whatever quarterback is tied to Kyle Shanahan, it might be somebody you just need to start each week. The guy's not turning the ball over. He's got all those playmakers, and Shanahan, the way he's drawing up the play calls, is just making the job super, super easy for him.
I'm like so many others, I'm glad that when the move was made, I raced out and got Isaiah Pacheco so I could sit back and watch Jerick McKinnon absolutely dominate. I don't know that he's even available at some point, but if he is, I would say that he's, at this point, a must-play, correct?
Oh, absolutely. He was somebody that I was kind of big on playing for daily fantasy this week. I wasn't sure, you don't expect somebody to go off for 30-plus points back-to-back weeks the way he has, especially when it's kind of 1A, 1B in Kansas City right now. The good thing for owners of either one of those guys was the injury to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They just kept trying to give him the ball. It just never worked out the way that fantasy owners, or even the Chiefs for that matter, when they drafted him in the first round, many thought that he was just going to be, I remember the comparisons of him to being the next Brian Westbrook in Andy Reid's offense. That obviously hasn't come to fruition. But Jerick McKinnon, absolutely somebody who's, he's getting looks on the ground, which he wasn't getting a whole lot of plays on the ground as a rusher. Now he's getting about 10 touches a week, but it's really what he's doing damage-wise in the pass game. We know how prolific the Chiefs' offense is, as long as Patrick Mahomes is at the helm of that offense. So, yeah, either one of those guys, it's kind of tough to see. I believe Pacheco probably is the preferred option at the goal line, and that's part of the reason why I had him in my waiver wire pickups for last week. But, yeah, it's at this point in the season, it's kind of safe to play both of them. You would wish one of those guys, obviously, would just have that exclusively, but they're both guys that I'm putting in as a flex play for this week.
He is Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. He's with us here on GCR. Joe, obviously the big story of the week in fantasy football, besides Jalen Hurts, is Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to guess that a lot of Jonathan Taylor owners were eliminated on this weekend if they survived, is there any value in either of the other Colts running backs?
Well, I've been harping on, past couple of weeks saying get as many of those handcuff running backs as you can get. Deion Jackson was one of those guys that just because to start the season when Taylor went down, Jackson was the one that kind of went in there and was pretty solid. I would say it was about 2.5 games before he also got hurt. And then it was basically just Naheem Hines' job now. They flipped Hines for Zach Moss, made that trade with Buffalo. And, I'm sure that I don't want to say you're happy to see injury, but, if you were a Deion Jackson owner and you saw the injury to Jonathan Taylor, you're like, okay, maybe I do have him for the fantasy weeks. But now it looks like the Colts kind of have come to favor Zach Moss, a guy who was almost forgotten about, and I'm like 90% sure is probably available on your waiver wire. It was kind of shocking to see that Jackson was the only one to have the one touchdown that the Colts had in that epic meltdown this past weekend. But at this point, based on what we saw this past weekend, you almost have to go with Zach Moss if you're going to go with either guy. Again, that's kind of if you're really desperate to start one of those guys, because I'm pretty sure we all can kind of see that both guys are going to be featured as opposed to one being, have the job to himself. But if I had to pick one over the other, based on what we saw this past weekend, you would have to go with Zach Moss.
You brought up in your column this week the name KJ Osborne, and this is an interesting topic for me because he did. He got the ball a lot in their incredible comeback against the Colts, but they kind of had to throw for the entirety of the second half of that game, and frankly, even late in the first half because they were down by 5 touchdowns. Do you assume that target share is still there if they're not playing in a game in which they're trailing by 5 touchdowns?
Well, obviously, because of you mentioned the way that they were down 32-0 at the half, that kind of throws probably their offensive game plan out the window when it comes to rushing the ball. So, yes, they definitely threw it a lot more than they normally would. He had 16 targets this week, which is by far the most that he's had all season. I believe that Jefferson had 16 as well, or maybe it was 18. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's been a guy, Osborne, kind of similar to we saw with the Rams last year. The Vikings are in 3 wide receiver sets a lot, so KJ Osborne is on the field. He's been on the field for 70% of the plays for, I believe, all but 4 games this year. Of course, he doesn't have the same target share, but he's been a guy that you kind of have seen each week that he gets more and more involved with the offense as they're kind of seem to be phasing Adam Thielen out a little bit. He just doesn't have the same burst that he once had. Still sure-handed, but he just doesn't make the same plays. He reminds me of one of those guys that catches the ball and just almost falls down immediately, as opposed to Osborne, as we saw this past weekend, could still hit a big play for the Vikings offense. But, yeah, you're 100% right. You can't expect him to get that kind of target share every week. But, again, we've reached that time of the season where injuries are unfortunately mounting themselves a lot more than we kind of want to this time of the season, especially in fantasy playoffs. So if you really, really need somebody to throw as a flex guy, especially in a deeper league, KJ Osborne is somebody that is an option, because I do expect the Vikings to still have to throw it around quite a bit, because as we saw this past weekend, Kirk Cousins, he's susceptible to interceptions, which is going to make them have to keep passing the ball a ton if they get down in big games. And let's face it, they are the most fraudulent 10-win team we've probably ever seen in football.
It's probably true, but obviously does not matter in the fantasy world. Irrelevant. And then the other name at wide receiver that's interesting to me is Jahan Dotson, who I just kind of wonder if what we saw there in the second half on Sunday night proves to be his kind of star-turning moment. I realize it's not the most explosive offense, but holy crap, if you can make the plays that he was making – I know there were a couple of weeks where he wasn't getting targets, but how do you go away from Jahan Dotson at this point if you're Washington?
Oh, I agree with that. And they tried to get him involved early and on the season before he kind of got banged up a little bit. Has been in and out of the lineup for most of the season, to be brutally honest. But the first couple of weeks, I believe he was a top 10 receiver, especially after week 1 where he caught 2 touchdown passes and had a pretty solid game, and then, kind of got phased out a little bit because of injuries, and they needed to realize that their best player is still Terry McLaurin, so they were trying to get him more and more involved in the past couple weeks. But Dotson is somebody, you said it, it's kind of hard to trust the Commanders' offense right now. I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about how much we liked Taylor Heineke. He's obviously taken a step back in the past couple weeks, but Dotson is going to be a guy that moving forward, let's say next year, absolutely is somebody I would want to have on my team. But he's a little bit hard to trust as long as he's tied with his Commanders' offense because, again, the McLaurin is the main threat, and then you can't forget about Curtis Samuel as well. They do have a fantastic trio. I'll give the Commanders that. It's just as long as they have that quarterback play, it's hard to trust any of those guys. But if you're really in a pinch, I don't fault you for going with Dotson just because we saw it this past week. And the guy's explosive. He's a hell of a playmaker. He catches pretty much everything thrown to him. It's just you kind of need a little bit more of somebody who can be relied on, especially in these fantasy weeks. You don't really want to be throwing darts right now, even though, that tight end position, that's all we've done all season. But somebody like that, I'm sure you can find, hopefully you can find somebody more readily available that can catch a few more balls than we've seen from Dotson in the past couple weeks.
All right. Anybody else who's on your radar for semifinal week?
I mentioned in my article a name that us Ravens fans probably remember, and that's a guy named Chris Moore. He didn't do a whole lot as a pass catcher when he was here in Baltimore. To be honest, he wasn't doing a whole lot as a pass catcher for the Texans up until the past couple of weeks. But with injuries to Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks, he has now seen 20 targets the past 2 games. And as long as those two teams those two guys are out of the lineup, he is an option for you again at that receiver position. It's hard to trust the Texans' offense, but we know that's how bad that they are. So we know they are more pass happy than some teams. So he's a guy to absolutely consider. And then tight end position, I've talked about it over and over all season long. We mentioned him for a split second last week with Chig Okonkwo. He's now been over 30 yards in 5 of the last 6. He's becoming more and more involved each week. So if you really, really need a flyer at the position, why not give Okonkwo a shot over, say, last week was talking about Tyler Conklin, and it seems like whenever I bring him up, he kind of craps the bed. And that kind of seems to be the case with every tight end that I mentioned. But I do like Okonkwo this week, and the obvious, us being from Maryland, you kind of want to root for that guy as well.
At Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him. And, of course, you see his stuff at PressBoxOnline.com. We will talk to you again next Tuesday. For anybody who might still be alive playing for a championship, Joe Serpico, you, your family, happy holidays, my friend. We'll talk to you next week, all right?
Hope I'm one of those guys. And, yes, you enjoy your holiday. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, buddy. Joe Serpico, PressBoxOnline.com, fantasy football analyst. Appreciate him checking in with us for a minute this morning. Don't forget, we got one more Tyus Bowser show before the season is over on Tuesday, January 3rd. We are going to be back at Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. Hope that you can come join us for the Tyus Bowser show. You can find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. It's brought to you by our friends at Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Tyus Bowser shows a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's memorabilia. We'll see you Tuesday, January 3rd at Guilford Hall Brewery. When we come back in, we will get a tidbit. We'll get Tubular to sort of wrap things up for the day, and then we will turn things over to Simply the Bets. That's all on the way. Glenn Clark Radio. Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A Catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Need a last-minute gift for a kid in your life? How about a membership to the Retriever Kids Club? It includes free youth admission to all regular season UMBC home games, plus a t-shirt and a drawstring backpack. Membership is only $35. It's a great deal, makes a tremendous holiday gift. Visit umbcretrievers.com/kids club for more info. Membership is for kids 12 and under. The Retriever Kids Club. Find out more, umbcretrievers.com/kids club.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
All right, back in here on GCR. I appreciate she's actually working today, and the fact that she's taken a couple minutes to squeeze away in order to do this. I can't tell her how much I appreciate her. You know her. You love her. You know I call her Saint Sanzi. She is Sanzi Gaba, and she is with us now here on GCR. Sanzi, it's Glenn. Love you, my friend. Thank you, as always, taking the time.
You're more than welcome. Good morning. Good morning.
So I want you to know, of course, our annual Best of issue hits newsstands tomorrow, and it's not just the Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year that's involved. There's one particularly special day from this year that continues to give me goosebumps is a part of it. I have not talked to you since Trey became a World Series champion. What did that mean to you to see Trey playing in the World Series and for him to now forever be known as a World Series winner?
Oh, I was rooting for him. Forget the team. I was rooting for him.
Right? Yeah,
and I'm so proud of him.
It's so special. I don't care. It would be nice if he could end up back in Baltimore, but I guess it's not looking great. But man, what a cool thing that was, and one of my favorite days of the entire year, spending that on a hot day, very hot day in July at the ballpark, making memories. Sanzi, of course, a couple years ago, you and I, we spent an incredible night together at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square, and I told you a million times that was the most important night of my professional life. And after that, PressBox decided that we wanted to make our local sports person of the year the Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year. How much do you still feel from a day-to-day? Can you just tell people, even not only just on days like Mo Gaba Day at the ballpark, but Mo's presence and the impact that he had on the entirety of the community?
I mean, it's a constant reminder, because even at work, I have customers coming to me and they see my name, was like, wait, you're Mo's mom. I don't have a name anymore. I'm just Mo's mom. And they just go on to say how much of an inspiration that he was, and it means the world to me.
That's awesome. Well, you are here with us because you are going to make the announcement for us, the 2022 Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year. Now I hope that you remember who I told you it was.
No, and I do apologize because I forgot, and the work is stressing me out. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We can make it together. We can do it that way. I just realized that when I called you. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I remembered I told her. Sanzi, the 2022 Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year, as I'm holding up right now, is Adley Rutschman, Orioles catcher. Adley Rutschman is on the cover. I don't know. You know, it was a tough couple of years for the Baltimore Orioles until Adley Rutschman showed up. How exciting was it for you to see him and what this team was able to do getting back to winning this season?
I'm excited for what's to come, and again, congratulations to him for being a sports person. Mo got a sports person of the year this year, but I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with the Orioles in this coming season.
No question.
I'm excited for what's to come.
No question about it. What about when you watch the Ravens and you still look in the end zone? It's still every time. I don't care how many times I see it. Every time I'm like, oh my God. It just hits me right in the heart for a second.
No, of course I'm a proud mom, and then also I had quite a few people ask the question like, "Why is that Mo?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's my son." Like, really?
That's so powerful. All right, Sanzi, I know that I stole you away from work, and I know I got to let you go back to work.
No, trust me, I'm in no rush. It's
okay,
fine.
all right, good. I was getting nervous for a second that I was going to get you in trouble.
No, you're fine.
I don't want that to be the case. I know we're still working on some plans. I know that you guys, it's really important that we continue to talk up the Johns Hopkins Children's Center, correct?
Yes.
Can you explain to people why the Johns Hopkins Children's Center is so important to you and your family?
Well, I mean, what they did for my son, they took care of him his entire life. So whatever all the funds they're able to raise to help children take the fear and all the scare away from all the stuff they deal with every day, I'm 100% behind it because that's what they did for Mo.
It's an amazing place. And you know what's even more amazing? I remember when we were getting together for the parades and like meeting like the nurses and the folks that had worked with Mo and just being like, oh God, these people they're the reason. They are what makes this place so special.
Yeah.
They are incredible, incredible people. If you're thinking about, a lot of people get to the end of the year and they realize like they've got a little bit of money and maybe trying to, write off taxes, something like that. Encourage you as always to consider making a donation to the Johns Hopkins Children's Center, particularly in Mo's name. What else is going on?
Regardless of how much you donate,
it
all goes to a good cause that can help all those little small children in there that shouldn't be there in the first place.
No question. It's unfair. It's patently unfair, and you know a thing or two about that and everything you've been through. How else are things going for you? Everything all right?
Everything is good. I'm at a job that I love and working like crazy, so I'm happy.
Man, I look forward already to spending more time with you in 2023. I look forward. I know Dean's been working hard on some initiatives to sort of further Mo's story and trying to make it more of a year-round thing that we do to lift up Mo. And I've been talking to Dean about that, and I am always excited about the idea of doing as much as we can. That's why, of course, why we did this is because at some point in 20 years, we want people to pick up and issue a press box and say, Mo Gaba, Sports Person of the Year, why? And ask that question. And we want to be able to continue telling his story for forever because it means that much.
Oh, man, thank you.
I love you.
I love you too, man.
Kids love you. We're going to get together in January. All right.
We're going to make sure it happens this time, I promise.
That's a promise. It's a promise that it's happening. Merry Christmas, Sanzi. We'll talk really soon. Thank you for hopping on with me for a minute, all right?
You're more than welcome.
That's Sanzi Gaba. That's Mo's mom. And, yes, she has been so kind. I mean, I don't know that I know a kinder person and someone who is more willing to share. I'm sorry. Sanzi carried a weight on her shoulder that while she was going through the most traumatic thing that you could ever possibly imagine, she was still more than willing to share her son, who she didn't have nearly enough time with. She was willing to share her son with all of us. The selflessness of that is overwhelming. As a parent, I can't fathom it. And the love that I have for Sanzi because of it, because she knew how special her son was and wanted as many people to be able to experience the light that he brought, says everything you need to know about her. She is truly a saint. truly a saint. Our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year is Adley Rutschman. And this issue of PressBox is going to be available tomorrow at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You'll be able to read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. It is our annual Best of issue. It celebrates the top people, performances, and moments of 2022. And, yeah, Adley Rutschman was the choice for Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year for a number of reasons, but nothing more significant than the idea that the moment that he arrived winning arrived with him. And for a downtrodden, hopeless franchise and fan base, he's provided that hope. It's so interesting what Sanzi said. I'm excited about what's to come. And so much of that is because of this man and his arrival in Baltimore. Luke Jackson and I sat down with Adley Rutschman for a lengthy conversation, and that is featured in this print issue of PressBox. So, again, today was the last day for this one with Kevin Willard on the cover, and starting tomorrow, the new print issue of PressBox with Adley Rutschman, our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year. Thank you to Sanzi for taking a couple of minutes for us, and serious thank you for working with us as we want to honor Mo moving forward, and that's why we did it. We did it because, again, somewhere down the road, we laugh about how Griffin doesn't know about, Old School and Wedding Crashers and movies that to a lot of us aren't that old. But you realize that's kind of how time works, that everyone in Baltimore knows about Mo Gabba, right? But in 2032, not everyone in Baltimore is going to know. Go ahead, John Colson. Come on in. We've been doing movie reviews. You haven't been paying attention. We did one earlier today. We've been doing. I'm doing business. I'm running the business.
Actually, I was at our loading dock because the magazines came a day early.
Yes.
So I was helping unload pallets in my highfalutin job. I was helping unload pallets with a forklift.
Most worshipful Grandmaster. Yeah. Most worshipful
most worshipful dock master.
Yeah, that's the reason why we did this a couple years ago, is because we realized that it does not take long. Like, we just did this math this morning. Old School came out in 2003.
Yes.
And it means zero to Griffin, means nothing to him whatsoever. It does not take long. Time moves very quickly.
I saw Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, that you're 1,000.
No. My point is, Gone with the Wind came out long before.
We agree on that. Yeah. This is why we're having him. We're assigning him.
Yeah.
He's gonna watch Tommy Boy for Thursday during the drinking show. We're gonna do a Tommy Boy movie review. Okay. We're assigning him classic comedies to go back and watch and then report on. That's what this has been.
Have you ever seen The Princess Bride?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that's a different. That's not a slapstick comedy. That's
no, totally different.
It's a great motion picture.
That is where his parents have let us down. Frankly,
again, there is a parenting problem that we need to address. There's no problem.
Perhaps they should be interviewed.
Ooh, we might have to get to the bottom of that at some point.
Because how is that even possible?
Yeah, how is that possible?
Right.
I was trying to do something. Trying to do something sentimental here instead of just crushing Griffin and his parents.
I get it, but you were about to cry again.
I know.
So we.
Yeah, it gets
voice.
really difficult when I talk about.
I could hear it in your voice.
It's not just talking about Mo. It really is talking about Sanzi.
Well, I know
really,
it is.
And you know what's awkward about it is Sanzi is a friend. We've hung out and drank, and she's a friend of mine. And yet when I talk about her, it gets really awkward. And sometimes I can see that she's almost annoyed by it when we're hanging out. Dude, we're friends. Chill.
Yeah.
Chill. Just chill. Whereas I have such overwhelming reverence for her that it becomes intimidating at times to just be hanging out and just try to talk
process
to her.
it all.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's just such a ridiculous
it's a real honor. I reflect on this a lot as I talk to clients about advertising with us. It comes up regularly that it is the Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year. And I don't think about it in that context until I'm talking to a client about it, and then it dawns on me kind of how important that is. And that's really cool. And how about the Orioles, by the way? I know this is going to sound a little bit They actually placed an ad in here.
I did. So congratulating Adley.
But it's as it relates to PressBox and Mo Gabba Sports
Mhm.
Person of the Year.
Mhm.
And I think what a class act
they
that
know
is,
what it
frankly.
means. They know what it means.
What a
and it
class
matters
act
to
that
them.
is.
I agree with that. It matters to them that it's the Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year.
I just think that
trying to
was-
remember what page it was
I hope
on.
we ran it.
I know, right? I saw it. I know it's there. I saw it.
Oh no!
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
The Orioles taking
I mean,
out a full page ad to congratulate Adley Rutschman on being.
But what a class act in the way they handled that.
Yep, and worked with us. We
was really cool.
Admittedly, this year we made a later decision. I'll give that away. The decision came a little bit later in the process. We were considering,
It ended up being fortunate. Let's say that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody can sort of do the math. It's difficult, just because of time, football season, things along those lines. You can't make this decision in September because you don't know what's going to happen. Lord knows, we had no idea a year ago that Justin Tucker was going to make the longest kick in NFL history. And then when he did, we had to sit down and think about it and say, this is Justin Tucker that we're talking about. And so it's important. These are things that we have to think about all year long. So
would we have bumped Rutschman
if Justin Tucker made the kick in Jacksonville, just made it him
yards?
again? I don't know. He would have
could have used the same. Would have saved me a fortune.
He would have had to have thought about it. But Adley Rutschman was always, of course, was all from the, the moment this summer where we realized he was Adley Rutschman, he was, of course, very much at the top of the list of candidates. You just have to let things play out. Like, what if Maryland football had gone on some amazing run this season? Like, you know, you got to let these things play out. So we had to make a late decision, which is not all that abnormal. We make a lot of late decisions when it comes to, other than Mo. Mo is literally the only time.
because of the time of year and all that stuff. That a lot of stuff happens.
100%.
It makes
so
sense.
The Orioles were very helpful after he made the decision and coordinated us having time with Adley to talk to him about it and try to explain to Adley a little bit more about why it's the Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year. Of course, Adley just got here this year.
Yep.
Like, he does not know all of the history of this. And so, on a call, I was talking to him about
And what was his response to that?
He was moved by it.
Very
like, again,
cool.
we didn't end up, I don't want to, put him in an uncomfortable position where he didn't, but you could tell he was very interested in Mo Gabba and us talking about that. So that was kind of powerful too. But yes, that will be available tomorrow all throughout town with Adley Rutschman on the cover, our best of issue. Adley Rutschman, the Mo Gabba Sports Person.
Was Greg Roman the guy that was also?
It was right, the two of them right neck and neck, and we just couldn't figure out which one it was. And right until it was Saturday. Until Saturday, it was going to be Greg.
Until Saturday, and then you saw those notes on the floor, and you figured, let's cut him and hurry
maybe
up and print.
Maybe not the guy. Hey, so on Thursday we're having a bit of a shindig.
We
in
are,
here, and
I've got some good news.
Yeah,
Our friends at Union Craft Brewing
will
be providing
beer.
The beer.
Yeah, have
more of it than you'll be able to drink.
Can we get like a air mattress sponsor for Thursday? Can we look into that?
Well, we do have a lovely couch out there.
Oh, I'll be taking the couch for sure. That'll be me. I don't know if anybody else might end up.
Well, there you go.
I told Jeremy we'd be providing. We would purchase an Uber for him.
Yes, we will refund him for his Uber.
Yes, we will take care of that.
And then we've got that, and we also have the Baltimore County Police.
Yes, coming in
that will be here to give you breathalyzers
during the show and to teach the lessons of how little it might sometimes
and then
take.
The people from Union Brewing and the police will have a wrestling match in the hall out there.
I'm looking forward to that.
And there'll be food.
Yes, and David DuBois will be here.
And David DuBois will be here.
Doing crabs for Christmas.
Coincidentally, he's actually a good friend of mine.
I've known David for a long time. I don't know him well. I'm not a friend, not like you.
We vacation.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm looking forward to
wife,
it.
Joe.
He's gonna sing crabs for Christmas for us as he's celebrating his new book. I gave Baltimore crabs for Christmas,
which I should bring in because I actually have a copy of it.
I've got a digital copy. I've been diving into.
Actually, kind of.
It's
one of those things that's you start reading it, you're like, oh, this is funny.
I'm sure it's quite good. I have no doubt
He's
that's
a
the
good
case.
dude.
So we're gonna have a fun day on Thursday. Do you want to do Bean Boozled with us?
I don't know that one.
Oh, John,
yeah. You have to.
Oh, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, John, there's a rumor that Rita might stop in on Thursday as well and hang out for the show. Bean Boozled, of course, is basically you get a box of jelly beans. Half of them are fine-tasting jelly beans.
Oh no, I don't like where this is going already.
The other half is the same color as a fine-tasting jelly bean, but the flavors are like liver and onions or boogers or grass,
like baby diaper,
like
or baby wipe.
things like that.
I honestly
so you go.
don't think I can.
Oh, if it's because you think you're going to puke, then I'm going to need you to do it. I don't drink, and I'm being willing to drink for this show on Thursday, and knowing damn well that I'm going to puke. I'm putting myself through that. You can make a sacrifice as well. We are so late for Simply the Bets. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? But that's the deal. We're doing Bean Boozled on Thursday. All right.
I won $7 yesterday.
Oh, what'd you bet on?
I bet on what did I bet on? Oh, I bet on the Caps.
Did they win? I don't.
They won.
I'm sorry.
In
I'm not
overtime.
a fan.
I thought the Caps live when they were down 2-0.
Look at you
I was
guys.
like, oh.
Did you do that after you had
2-0
signed
lead.
up for something through PressBoxOnline.com/offers?
Yeah, I did. I
Which
signed
one?
up,
Which one was it?
DraftKings.
DraftKings was the offer that you used.
The
from
deposit,
PressBoxOnline.com/offers.
the bet $5 and get $200 in free bets. So I now have 8 $25 free bets I can.
Wow.
Some kind of
you got plans?
excitement.
You know what you're
$25 of it went towards the.
Oh, that was a free bet. Okay, got it.
Caps game. And I had another bet that I lost, so I ended up a couple dollars up.
Well, these
I
things
lost
happen.
the Monday Night Football bet.
This was by far my best weekend of football betting all year. And it was,
really?
of course, the
Average
weekend where I spent the least amount of money
Yeah, it was
betting.
very average for me.
Yeah, it was
I think I was down.
Very disappointing.
After a lot of bets, I was down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like $15
These
or
things
something.
happen.
So I
These
did
things
okay.
happen. All right, so big day.
Redskins screwed me.
Well, they're called the Commanders now. Not
yeah,
sure
I
if you've
know,
heard.
but I'm
Yeah.
calling until they win more.
Is that what you're doing? That's what you're going
This has
with?
nothing to do with my social intelligence.
All right. All right. Thank you for stopping in when you saw that I was getting emotional.
Cleveland
Appreciate
Indians.
that. What?
I'm just
What's wrong
sorry
with
for the
you? What is
Redskins.
wrong
It's
with
the
you?
Redskins.
Get out of here. It's John
Okay,
Colson,
see
most
ya.
worshipful Grandmaster.
Bye, guys.
Tidbit is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacoma. What? It's for helping up mission. Could you, hey, do me a favor? Can you talk to everybody about maybe like sharing that we announced who the sports person of the year was? Could you send an email out like, hey, maybe we put up the cover on Twitter or something? I know, but we already announced it today. All right, very good. We'll leave it alone. We're going to. All right, never mind. I'm just going to. Whatever. Get to the tidbit.
All right, so on this day, I have two on this day that I like. Ravens uniform history. December 20th, 2015 was when they debuted the gold mustard pants in a 20-point loss to the Chiefs. That is the only time in Ravens history that they have donned the gold breeches in a game.
It was the worst thing that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes, it was horrible. It was horrible. Also on this day, Brett Favre threw his...
And who started that game? Was it Clausen?
I think it was either Mallet or Clausen.
God, it was such a miserable time to be
trying
to talk about the
ugly.
Ravens and watch the Ravens. It was just, God, it was atrocious.
And then in 2010, on December 20th, Brett Favre threw his 336th and final career interception, which is the most.
When we were hanging out at Glory Days last night, they were putting up on the screen, like I saw, they were doing the Monday Night Football pregame show, and like apparently they do trivia on the screen, and they were like, who's the Packers' all-time leading passer? And I'm like, I get they've had 3 good quarterbacks. Like, I understand why it's a question that might be difficult. Brett Favre died trying to throw the football on the field. Like, he's obviously the answer to this question. God, go ahead.
And then the last one, Jokic obviously had that massive game Sunday night with 40, 25, and 10.
You're going to ask me?
Yes, who are the other two?
I happen to know.
Third player.
I almost gave it to you yesterday. It's Wilt Chamberlain, who did it 4 times, and Elgin Baylor are the other two that did that. It's really remarkable.
Correct.
Really remarkable. I didn't give it to you because I realized you have no idea who Elgin Baylor is.
Yeah,
so
he'd be a tough one. I mean,
that's the reason why I
recognize
chose
the
not
name,
to do
but I
that.
never would have guessed him.
That's what it is. Hey, Tidbit was also brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department, who John Colson mentioned will be hanging out with us on Thursday, and you can be hanging out with them. If you're looking to maybe change things up, we keep the words "be the change" are very important. You maybe perhaps have had an issue with the relationship between police and the community. Be a part of it. Be a part of what that looks like moving forward. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com is the website. Very competitive salaries, $10,000 signing bonus available. Tubular is brought to you by the Ginsu Kamado Grill. Use the code TAILGATE. Save $100 when you pre-order your Ginsu Kamado Grill at ginsugrills.com. Not much tonight.
College basketball, isn't there?
Not really, no. In fact, almost none. Marquette, Providence.
UConn's playing.
UConn's playing Georgetown. Georgetown's atrocious. Like, maybe the worst team in the history of college basketball. There's nothing good tonight. The only local-ish team, UMES, is playing Temple at 7 on ESPN+. Yeah, there's just not a lot. Bowl games, Eastern Michigan, San Jose State at 3:30, and the Idaho Potato Bowl.
Take the under in that one. It's going to be like 15 degrees in Boise.
I'm not sure you know anything about bowl picks. Boca Raton Bowl, Liberty, and Toledo tonight at 7:30. Both those games on
Liberty
ESPN.
team total over. Just picking that.
Sure. Wizards Suns, which I'm interested in, but I'm not sure anybody else is because, it's the Wizards. 9 o'clock on NBC Sports Washington. TNT Warriors Knicks at 7:30. Grizzlies Nuggets at 10. The USA Network for WWE. NXT at 8. Anything non-sports?
The Mariah Carey Merry
That's
Christmas
right.
to all special.
Biggie on CBS.
On CBS. So The Grinch at the same time will be on NBC.
But not the good one. The
Ditch the
terrible.
Jim Carrey.
No, it's the
That's not the
Benedict
good one?
Cumberbatch.
Oh, that's
the animated.
No. This is the Dr. Seuss's.
Dude,
with Jim
I
Carrey.
saw it when I was looking at it last night. They
Oh.
said Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, then I guess I misread it. I
hang on
thought
a
it was.
second.
I thought this was the Jim Carrey
All right,
one.
wait, this is not something we should spend any time on when we're 10 minutes late getting to the other show, but go move forward.
That's it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Holiday Spectacular is still going on.
Maybe we should spend more time on it then, because there ain't a damn thing to say about it. Today is the 20th, correct?
Yes.
And what network is it?
NBC.
NBC at 8 p.m. on the 20th shows me that it is. Yeah, they've got Benedict Cumberbatch. They got the 2018 version, which sucked. On
NBC?
Thanks. Yeah, that's what I got.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's what I got.
Dang.
Thanks today to Sanzi Gabba. Thanks also to Joe Serpico, to Patrick Stevens, Jordan Moore from Duke, as well as Jonas Shaffer. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, I know Mike Loxley is going to join us. We will preview. He has signed up. We're going to be talking about mayonnaise tomorrow because Mike Loxley has agreed that he will take the mayo bath if Maryland wins the Duke's Mayo Bowl against NC State. We'll talk about the season, talk about what's ahead. Of course, tomorrow is also National Signing Day, although, spoiler alert, we have to pre-record the conversation today, so we're not really going to be able to talk a lot about the players themselves. That being said, what's he going to say? We like the players, so it's kind of what it is. All right, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore. Oh, Dave Archer will also join us tomorrow to preview the Falcons, their color analyst. Thank you to the Baltimore County Police Department, Problem Gambling, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, the Maryland Jockey Club, the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, Great Eights Memorabilia, Union Brewing, FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, UMBC Athletics, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday night. Go nobody. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. Simply the Bets is next.